What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video I'll be making a full review for the Romancing Festival Firebringer banner. That brings Firebringer, slash and heat damage dealer, also the buffer and helper for heat squads. And Urpina, a slash damage dealer that triggers overdrive every turn and does not need extra help. Balmaint, support for X remembrance. Taria, support for slash and heat reduction. Then Leonard for reactionary buffs for counter and physical strategies. Now let's go straight out to our srs.xyz website and start with Firebringer. He gives a name to the banner. Well, he has very good status. 120% STR is good enough, 100% intelligence for debuffing, and he has 93% endurance and 91% will. That means that he does not take much damage and can protect himself versus ailments. His agility could have been better since he is a debuffer, but well, he has a little bit of everything. We know this could happen. Moving for passives, on the start of a turn, he has a 37% chance to enter an evasive stance. That means that nothing will work versus Firebringer. Damage, ailments, everything will just be evaded. By the end of a turn, if he is unconscious, he will just revive infinitively and recover around 2000 HP. Also, when attacking, he will trigger Flame Servant. Flame Servant, it's a attack that has S power, slash and heat damage, and when the attack hits, there is a chance, based on his intelligence, that is 100%, that he will debuff the enemy intelligence and STR by 10%. Well, that's actually very good, because 10% hardly triggers the Fire weakness, and if he triggers a good RNG, 50% of the time he will chase again. That's right, 50% of the time to double use Flame Servant, and that will allow you to debuff STR and intelligence by 20%. And it's still not a very big value. Most bosses will not use the Fire weakness if he is your only debuffer. Moving on start of battle, he grants this passive to all surviving allies that recovers 1 BP when they are using a hit attack. Well, all of his attacks are hit-based, so he will recover 1 BP himself, and everyone else's will as well. And that's when Firebringer can be compared a little to Saruin, but that's kinda unfair. Saruin gives 2 different passives to the party. He gives that extra BP on Shadow attack, but he also gives this Shadow damage increase. What happened for Fire Element is that it was kinda distributed to 2 different characters. Ruby, that gives the extra heat damage, she can even give more via skill, and the BP generation was sent to Firebringer. So you need 2 characters to have everything that Saruin offers. The Firebringer as a character has more utility in battle than Saruin, so that's what happens. Then by start of turn, he gets this Elemental Enhance Heat. This increases heat damage by 30%, triggers 5 times per battle, meaning that by turn 5 he has 150% damage increase. He then gets 20% from his third passive for a total of 170% on turn 5 and beyond. When attacked, damage will be reduced by 30% at all times, and if attacked by an attack that will cause resist, he decreases damage taken by another 40%. Already has the evasion stance happening 37% of the time. Already has good endurance and will, that means that he's pretty defensive, and if well equipped, will not take much damage, and even if he dies, he revives. Skill number 1 is called Scarlet Flame Slash. It's a cheap attack, just 1 BP, that has deep power, not strong, but it does recover HP by probably around 250. Then the second one is a support skill called Servant Regression. That's a recovery fast heal spell that can revive, can only be used once per battle, that will probably recover around 2000s and applies Guard Up Large to all targets, decreasing damage taken by 35%. Guard Up does not stack with other sources of Guard Up, but does stack with sources of defense boost. So this is like a panic button, and you feel like you need extra help to keep people alive. This is fast, that means that you protect them and even give Guard Up. Or if someone died, you can just revive and give Guard Up so that it does not get revived without any defense reduction. And then we have Scarlet Fire Dual Blade, the third skill. This is a single target as well, slashing hit once more, and when the attack hits, grants the enemy morale down medium, decreasing their damage potential by 25%. This lasts for 3 turns, so he can actually use other skills in other turns. But since his agility is not that great, you can actually decide to use Firebringer skill 3 every 2 turns, so that the effects will be active. Well, when he chases, he gets 1 extra BP. That means that he gets at least 4, sometimes 5. And if you have other PP generation in the party, you can actually use Scarlet Fire Dual Blade every 2 turns without much problem. But if you don't, well, even if you are using this every 3 turns, it's still okay if he is on a formation that increases his agility. Well, this is his main gameplay. There's no inheritance for now. This style is what you see, but there is one another in the future. As he is a very good party leader for fire squads, and if you have people like Polka, latest style, that is already a very strong hit damage dealer, he already has a 50% chance to chase as well. So he will get 1 extra EP when attacking and another 1 when chasing with his scatter explosions. If you also have ScherBR, especially if you have both of her styles, that also has a chance to chase. She also has a chance to give extra VP with her Psychic Hunt. Well, that's very good since those 2 styles are meta. You can also say something about Jo. Jo is a very strong character for long fights because of her Flame Force. And she can also chase with 2 different attacks. Those attacks will also trigger extra BP, meaning that she can keep Odd Circle active many times without help of people like Sheree, for example. So, because Firebringer can already decrease damage taken via debuff or via his morale down medium, he is a very useful style for hard challenges, either long ones or, well, fights that last just 10 turns or something. Firebringer is not exactly a must-have. You can live without him. The meta characters that offer more support are more important, but damage dealers that can also apply either defense boosts or morale down, attack down, stuff that decrease damage taken are the future, and he is part of the future as well. His damage is not as strong as any other heavy nuker like, for example, Kihachi or Leon when he's fully loaded, but his damage is good enough and his strategy is also very good. That's why when you compare him to old overpowered units, he is right along the lines. Not as good as Kihachi, but good enough to deserve an OP grade as a very good leader. His future style is different. He's a little more geared towards buffing the party this time. He has a skill that applies guard up as well, and even illusion to try to evade. He allows people to self-buff when they attack. So I believe that this character here has a good future. His next style is pretty defensive and people like it on JP. It may not be the top of the game there, but it is still useful. But like I said, Firebringer is not exactly a must-have. If you have gens and you like the strategy that he offers, you can pull. If you don't, it's better to wait and see what's coming next. The next character is Urpina, and she has 118% STR, that's not really that high. She has 92% will, at least that's good. Endurance is 88, very close, and her agility is 85. She doesn't need high agility because she'll be attacking on overdrive most of the time anyway, hence why she could sacrifice this status. Moving far past it, she has a 40% increase in damage when attacking on overdrive. Starts the fight with 14 BP, and when attacking she always changes with Dual Dragonfly. Dual Dragonfly is an 8 power attack that grants morale down small, decreasing the damage of the enemy by 15%, and also guard down small, that decreases the defenses of the enemy by 12%. Both effects last for 2 turns, but they don't stack with either versions of themselves or from other sources. But they do stack with attack down and defense down. Then when attacking on overdrive, she triggers Dual Tempest. That is her skill number 3, that attacks 4 times with C power. That's pretty strong. Well, very similar in damage to what Brownie does on overdrive. She chases 3 times with A power, and Urpina chases 4 times with C power. She slash Brownie is Pierce. Then on start of turn, she grants herself this heat up, increasing damage potential by 20%, 5 times per battle for a total of 100% on turn 5. By the end of a turn, she gets 2 BP. Also intrinsic, giving her 20% for a total of 120 on turn 5 and beyond. And she resists damage, reducing by 40%. And if she receives a resisted attack, she has 37% chance to evade. Skill number 1 is called Double Sword. It's a single target attack that attacks random enemies 2 times. Especially important to remember this. Random means that you cannot choose the target. 2 hits with E power. With triple S weapons, you feel very similar to an S power attack, or even stronger. And it's something that you use when you don't have enough to use her stronger attack. Second skill, Lady's Sortress Composure, is her main gameplay. You can only use this 2 times per battle, and it will grant her this dual-wielding technique that gives her an attack boost that increases her damage potential by 50%, and this can stack with other attack boosts if you have other people in the party, and also morale up very large, increasing damage potential by 40%, so you have a total of 90% increase in damage. Morale up does not stack with other morale ups though. And there is also dual-wielding Lady. On the end of turn, she will feel Overdrive Gauge. She will also recover her HP by around 1,500 and also 4 extra BP. All of these effects can trigger 4 times. You use this on turn 1, and then you have effects for the next 4 turns. And then after this, you have to use this skill again. So Urpina is a character that is used in cycles of 10 turns. For fights that last more than this, she's not really great, because she cannot use this again, and she's locked into a normal cycle of using her very pricey skill called Dual Tempest. She can inherit a skill that can give her more BP, and that skill comes from one of her Platinum styles. And it's a dual-wielding stance that gives 3 BP. And with this, she will recover actually 8 BP in a turn. Remember that her nuke is 14. It's still not enough, but very close. 18 plus 5, it's 13. That means that Dual Tempest can easily be used every 2 turns if you have at least 1 extra BP from other sources. And what is Dual Tempest? Well, it's stronger when you use it as command, because this will reach level 99 and 4 hits on random enemies. And, well, 4 hits of C power is, like I said, very similar to 3 hits of A power, something like Triple Crush in the past. Remember? Gustav had it. And also, like I said, there is this version of, let's see here, Triple Crush, 3 times with A power. Version of Brownie, that got released alongside Polka Banner, that has Triple Pierce, that attracts 3 times with 8 power. I think this damage is similar, but the difference here is that your Urpina will have 90% damage increase, and she has heat ups, meaning that she can actually reach 210% increase by turn 5 and beyond. But that's already half of her gameplay. On turn 1, she only has 40% from passives. Then on turn 2, she has 60% from passives, alongside the 90% increase here. Is that good enough? I could tell you that it is very strong, but this strategy is not where close to Kihachi. Well, Kihachi is much better than Urpina, but she relies on support. She has that 8 hit attack, 8 full dual blade, that is stronger, and she even has the other effect, Laceration, when she attacks on overdrive. Laceration is a passive applied to the enemy that will trigger the weak defense down effect 37% of the time. And the good thing is that this can be taken advantage by any character. Kihachi herself already takes advantage because of her very high number of hits. You can still use them together. I did in my live stream, and it just made things faster, but Urpina is just slash. Kihachi is slash in lightning and slash in cold. That means that Urpina will be used in less content, but Urpina does not rely on hitting a weak target. But even then, well, you never bring characters for neutral damage in this game. It's hardly something that we do. We did that in the past with Leon, but I don't think people will be using Urpina on neutral content unless they really don't have any other type of damage dealer. So the difference between Urpina and Kihachi is that Urpina does not need the help of someone like Labelle. If you skip a Labelle, well, Labelle uses Breezy Foot Bath and she charges Overdrive Gouge. You can do this every 2 turns usually. Or if you miss it on Barthélemy. Barthélemy can also give you Overdrive Gouge by use of his second skill. 25 points. But he himself will not charge Overdrive Gouge of people. So those 2 characters are Overdrive specialists. You'll get more in the future, but if you miss it, those 2, Urpina is easier to use than Kihachi, but she's more limited. Her damage output is strong enough if the enemy is weak to slash, and you can just keep using her Dual Tempest every 2 turns. So what you'll be doing with Urpina is start the fight with Lady Sword Stress Composure, and then on turn 2 you're gonna use Overdrive, and you'll see Dual Tempest 2 times, and even the other Chase, Dual Dragonfly. That means 9 hits. The hits are stronger than Kihachi, but it's just 9. And then on turn 3, you get Overdrive again. You'll probably not have enough BP, so you use Double Sword, and then you chase with Dual Tempest, and then you chase again with Dual Dragonfly. That means that this time you actually got 7 hits, but 2 of them are weaker. Then on the next turn, you have another Dual Tempest, and then on turn 5, you have Double Sword. On turn 6, you're gonna use Lady Sword Stress Composure, and repeat it all. So damage is good for fights that are no longer than 10 turns. And as for inheritance, instead of dual wielding stance, you can also inherit Dual Whirlwind on turn 1. She can use this skill that is now double S power if you upgrade, and it's critical to flying enemies. Can be used if there's just 1 wave of enemies, or if you wanna kill 1 wave and then use someone else for the second. She has Cross Break, that is an attack that costs 8, and she can use it 3 times in a row. Now, Cross Break 3 times in a row with her Chase attack will actually be enough to solo single target content on free quest. Well, there you only need 2 waves, but it's double S power, then D power, and then A power. It is very strong to solo some enemies. There is also Torrent, the skill that enters an evasive counter and then counters with AoE, Slash and Pierce. Then we also have the single target counter Falling Petals. She also enters evasive counter, and it is Slash and Cold. So this is the best version of Urpina right now, and you can inherit all these useful skills from the past. But I think she is good as she is for Nuke. You don't need inheritance, to be honest. But she's still a little limited in her own design. I could say that if we were comparing the past damage dealers, she could be an OP grade, but with the advent of Kihachi, I think she will be more similar to a triple S grade character, because future damage dealers will offer more, either dual element or more support. Hence why Urpina is good, but not must have, and not really that great. You can easily skip her if you want. The next character is Balmaint, and he is average in all levels. 120% STR, 82% endurance, 82% will, then 88% agility and 91% intelligence because he can steal the buff. Nothing here stands out. I guess STR is the best value. He then helps the party increase damage potential by 10%, reduces damage taken by 10% as well. And he himself, when using Axis, increases his damage by 20%. On odd turns counting from start of battle, he will grant all surviving allies defense boost that decreases damage taken by 10%, lasts for 1 turn. And on even turns, he will instead recover all surviving allies' HP by something like 250. Well, this is good because in some turns he has a Strong Guard, some others he has just 10% damage reduction, but a heal effect. Then he gets heat up every turn, 5 turns for a total of 100% damage increase on turn 5, and recovers 2 BP by the end of turn. Then he gets another 20% increase for a total of 150% damage increase on turn 5. That is when all things considered. He then has 40% damage reduction when resisting attacks and 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. Skill number 1, Crushing Smash, is single target and carries a chance to decrease the enemy's endurance and dexterity by 15% on max level. Well, endurance doesn't help much, but decreasing dexterity could be helpful here and there. But this guy will be used on remembrance anyway. Their debuffs are not always needed. Then, skill number 2, Dimensional Break. It's an AoE attack with B power, 7 BP cost, that has a chance to apply instant kill. Well, this skill can also be found on Ellen and also on Hardy, freestyle. And it's something that you use on Frey Remembrance Battle, because you need to instant kill the minions, and because we already have a free version of this skill, it's not really needed, but Balmaint just use it as also an AoE attack. The third one, Executioner Break. This is a single target attack that when the attack lands, it will grant the target morale down and guard down medium. This decreases their damage potential by 25% and their defenses by 25%. Lasts for 3 turns. He has 5 EP per turn, meaning that he is not that fast. You can actually cycle this every 2 turns to have a perfect cycle of Executioner Break, Crushing Smash, Executioner Break, Crushing Smash, keeping his effects refreshed all the time during the fight. So, he does have inheritance, but they don't really matter. Well, his past style has this attack called Golden Gale, that is an AoE attack, and then he chases with a column attack. So, I don't know why would you use this. Maybe you can use this on Death Master if you need help, but there's no really need of this skill. It's just about fighting Remembrance bosses, usually single target ones, and then applying morale down, guard down, debuffing a little, helping the party survive via his passives. That's everything that Balmaint does. Nothing really stellar, but for X, just because he's using an X, he is better than some others. He will help people that need help on X Remembrance, but will never be used outside of this. As an X user, an SS plus grade. As a character by itself, just an SS grade. The next character is Taria, and she has 120% intelligence, 94% agility. Her endurance is 79, it's okay for mages, but her will is 100%, that's pretty good. She still has okay love because she can inherit heal spells. On the start of a turn, she grants all surviving allies Elemental Guard for Slash and another Elemental Guard for Heat. These have large effect, decreasing damage taken by 35% for all turns. This is activated on the start, so that means that it's always active. We'll talk more about that in the future. Then, when attacked, she decreases damage taken by 25% and by another 30%. By the end of a turn, she recovers 2 BP and also recover her HP. Well, 5 EP per turn and those elemental guards, right? That means that she is pretty defensive and relies on decreasing damage taken for just slash and heat. She's a specialist. Skill number 1 is Ice Needle, a single target cold and pierce attack that can decrease the enemy's intelligence by 15% on max level. Just 1 BP, very cheap and easy to use. Then she has Icicle's Barrier. It's a single target attack that is also fast, cold and pierce again, and it grants all surviving allies an attack boost that can reach 15% damage increase just for that turn. Then she launches an attack with a power. That's not really strong, and she doesn't have damage increase passives. And it applies a slash and defense boost of large effect again, 35% each. That's awesome, right? It only lasts for that turn, but you have now 4 different stacks with 35%. The enemy uses both slash and heat. That can be very good. She was released to fight versus Firebringer because he uses attacks that have both slash and heat. If the attack only has either slash or heat, then you will decrease the damage taken by 35%, then by another 35% because of the second cast. It's 7 BP and she gets 5 per turn. If you're using Shirei, she can keep casting this forever. If you're using Liz together with Taria, well, you can actually use this many times before you run out. But Taria and Liz together can work if the enemy uses mostly just slash and heat, but Taria is more of a specialized version of Liz. But Liz is overall much better because, look, Liz has Dragon's Blast, that gives defense boost, decreasing damage taken by 25%. On turn 1 you don't have much, okay, but then you can cast this 4 times in a row. She doesn't need much help, but if you are running Shirei, for example, she never runs out of BP. And with 4 stacks of minus 25 versus all sorts of damage, while also healing and giving BP to everyone, it's much better. Simply said, than Taria, that just one super attack versus 2 types. And, well, if the enemy doesn't use those types, you would not even bring Taria. She doesn't have anything else to offer. But versus Firebringer, in very specific fights, she can help. Then we have skill number 3, Bela Gerung Ice. It's a single target attack with Golden Pierce again, attacks 2 random enemies 2 times, and it has C power for each hit. That equals triple S final damage, and recovers HP with each attack. That's not enough as a healer. She can be a secondary healer if you already have your main one, because 2 heals of around 250, it's like 500, and she cannot even keep casting this every turn. It's something that could be seen past year Macho. She could use this 1 year ago, and he was never that great. So, it's either about the slash or the heat defense boost. If it's just versus 1, it still works, but by turn 3, she is very similar to Liz. By turn 4, Liz is already better. She has a better start, but she's just a specialist. That's not really that great. You can inherit stuff from her past styles, and Elegant Ice can heal her HP, and she can use it as a tank. You can also try to debuff agility with this Freezing Cold spell, and I don't think anything else really matters, besides just Water of Life for emergency situations where you need to revive someone. Or she can be used as your Petrify specialist with Arita Petra. But where do you Petrify in this game again? You don't have any type of content that asks for this after Tower was gone. So Taria is a specialist that offers some type of defense support that is very specific and better if the enemy uses both elements, and that is unlikely to happen. With that said, I don't think Taria is a must-have, hardly if ever, and very easy to skip as well. That's why I believe she only deserves an SS grade. The last character is Leonard, and he is a very special type of character. He doesn't have much high STR, only 15%, but he can buff this. His endurance is 108%, meaning that he is better off being used versus direct attacks. His will is 88, that is not really bad. He can still use it on hard challenges. His agility is not great, and everything else is just okay. When attacking with his words, he increases damage potential by 20%, then he increases slash damage for everyone, including himself, by 30, and then he increases by another 30. He has 80% damage increase. By the end of a turn, he gets 2 extra BP, and reduces damage taken at all times by 30%. And now, we have a passive called Ready to Rumble, that he grants to himself only on start, and when he lands an attack, he will buff STR and Endurance by 15%. Hence why I said he's better used versus physical types of enemies. And when he is directly attacked by the enemy, he grants himself this Heat Up of a large effect that increases damage potential by 15%, can stack up to 5 times to get 75% increase. Plus 80, he reaches 155% increase just by this, but he can cast the skill again with Ready to Rumble as support. This costs 70p, and he will cast this for the whole party. You can give 75% damage increase to everyone, but they need to be directly attacked to trigger. Depending on the fight, if there are multiple enemies, you can trigger this in, I don't know, 2 turns. And they will also be self-buffing STR and Endurance by 15% when they attack. If you're using people that have chases, they will be buffing 2 times. This is kind of like the reverse strategy of Julian. And Julian needs to counter to buff the party. Here, you need to attack to self-buff. And you can use him with Julian. I do believe that he's like one of the best partners for Julian, to be honest. He will increase Julian damage and will make everyone stronger alongside. And you can say that 155% plus 75, he reaches 230% damage increase when everything is fully stacked. And his STR and Endurance will buff 2 times when he attacks, by 30% on max value. So that's already a good sign of things to come, right? His skill number 1 is called Rampage Slash. It hits 2 times with E power, so it's pretty similar to an S power attack for just 2 BP. That's good enough. It's critical to human and both slash and blunt, so he covers 2 different elements. And then we have skill number 3, Violent Dive, that has 3 to 4 hits. It depends on RNG. It has 8 BP cost and E power. It's just like the same skill, but instead of hitting 2 times, it will hit between 3 to 4 for higher cost. So that he cycles between using Violent Dive and then Rampage Slash wherever he has enough BP. Is this strong enough? No. Leonard is not a nuker. He's here to help you get higher endurance and allow you to do more damage by STR buffs and even hit-ups, but he himself is not stellar or anything else. He can still be used versus some fights when you apply Sundered since he has multi-hit attacks, but he doesn't have a chase himself. So, again, use this guy together with some specialists like Juden, because Juden, well, he has a very good taunt. He will then grant himself a defense boost and buff endurance when he's countering or attacking. And when he's attacking, he already buffs his STR, and then he would now buff STR again and endurance again. So he becomes stronger, his counters will be stronger as well, and he will give more to the party. Another one that is very good, one of the other best counters we have in the game, Yuma Mayo. Well, Yuma Mayo can counter 2 times with his Blazing Wild Sword. This is Slash and Blunt, and he nullifies indirect damage. He's a very good character to be used on counter strategies, and he would then now buff STR and endurance when countering, reaching much higher damage. He already buffs when he is landing attacks, so makes all counter strategies much better. He will work for all other counter specialists as well, but I do believe that it's better if you have those 2. And he himself could be used in scenarios where we don't have counters, because, well, depending on the number of chases you characters have, and if you want to increase your damage, you could use him together with Kihachi, with Urpina as well. That works. As for inheritance, he doesn't really need any, and there is overflowing feelings from his Christmas style that can give morale up and guard up, medium. This works if you have Shirei, he will have a perfect cycle, but it also recovers 2 BP. He uses 13 and actually gets 2 back, meaning that he has 5 BP per turn. He can usually keep this up most of the time. No other skill makes much sense because it's either too costly like Spinning Slash, or it just is stronger with his original style. So this guy is here just to be used on strategies where you want to increase your damage output or your endurance, and then he just keeps using skills that are cheap and have good potential and will do good damage if he's buffing his STR by a lot. Well, Leonard deserves at least a triple S grade in the tier list. It's not overpowered, it's not really required. The counter strategies with Julian and Yuma Mayo are already very good, and to be honest, you don't really need him. He just makes it even better. With all that said, let's go back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, it's an average banner to pull. Really? Yes, even though I pull it here. Because Firebringer is nice and all, but you need to have a full fire squad to make full potential, and you shine then. But the good thing is that we do have lots of good fire attackers. Easier to build a fire squad than a shadow one, and he even brings slash and heat. For example, Polka is also slash and heat. You can use them together for a slash sometimes. Urpina is a good damage dealer, but she's just not as good as Kihachi, and you can just wait for better damage dealers later. Balmaint is just remembrance fodder. He works, but it's not special. You will not be using him on hard challenges. Taria is a very specific specialist that you won't need and won't use as much. List just obliterates Taria utility. And Leonard is good. Yes, he is interesting, very unique, but it's not like you really need him as well. So, in the end, I think this banner deserves an S grade only, because it does have 5 styles. If you want to pull here just to see what you get, it's okay. But if you also want to wait, we'll probably be getting the summer banners pretty soon, and they will be offering much more value than this banner. But if you get Firebringer, be happy, he's good, his future style is also useful, Urpina still works and can work together with Kihachi for now. till we get stronger damage dealers, and if you get Leonard, you're gonna have some fun. With all that said, this is my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I want to see you soon in the next video or live stream. Bye.